What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel. Hope that you guys are having a wonderful evening. If you're up late like me. So Chris Rock, he stormed out in the middle of his comedy set at a billionaire's party after he realized that the controversial joke that he was, uh, telling the crowd was actually being recorded. So let's get into this story. So he stormed out of the middle of his comedy set at billionaire Anthony Pratt's Christmas party. The 59-year-old comedian did a surprise set at Pratt's holiday party over the weekend. However, his set was cut short after he made the joke, quote, "Our new push will be outer space. We'll put all the Mexicans on the rockets." And so Cindy Adams, who works at the New York Post, said that she attended the soiree and she said that Chris saw something in the audience that they did not see and that upset him. So he stormed out in the middle of the set and he shouted that he wasn't supposed to be taped, videotaped, reported, or whatever else that wasn't supposed to happen. He quickly and forcefully moved, barricaded through people, and moved people out of his way so he could get to the exit doors without explaining why. Without a second's hesitation, he stormed out, never to return. So here's the thing, right? Chris Chris Rock. It says Rock has remained fairly under the radar since he was slapped by Will Smith during the 2022 Oscars. You would think that if you get slapped, and I mean, he will slap the taste out of Chris Rock's mouth. If you got slapped, in front of pretty much half the world, let's say, that you would have some sort of introspection or some sort of changed behavior. Chris, why are you making fun of Mexican people, especially during the time now where a lot of them are just being targeted? Um, I don't understand him. The sitcom Everybody Hates Chris, he's 59, right? At some point, at some point in your life, and I'm wondering what point, because he's still making disparaging comments about vulnerable populations. But at some point in your life, you would think that you would try to look inward, right? Chris has been very open about, how he cheated on his wife. She divorced him. He has an estranged relationship with his girls. He is someone who, like I said, titled his sitcom about his life, "Everybody Hates Chris." Sir, if everybody hates you, you may be the problem. You might be the problem. You know, it says here that Chris, what he said to Jada, he's like, "Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it," referring to Demi Moore's shaved head in the 1997 film G.I. Jane. And while Will Smith did first laugh at the joke, he immediately turned sour. He went on stage and slapped the taste out of his mouth. And he said, "Keep my wife's name out your MFing mouth," repeatedly. I don't understand why he feels the need to continuously punch down. One thing I can say about Cat Williams is that he said, the jokes about SA are never funny, and real comedians don't punch down. I think George Carlin said the same thing, right? If you're doing well, like I have a college degree, for example, right? You won't see me in a kindergarten class. You wouldn't see somebody in a kindergarten class disparaging the babies, trying to learn their ABCs and their one, two, threes. Or, you won't see, I don't know, a successful entrepreneur business person, of a Fortune 500 company bust into a business class and make fun of, or knocking over kids' lemonade stands. I mean, actually, nowadays you might, but you know what I mean. The analogy is Chris, you've been a successful comedian for a very long time, and he still acts like he's Pookie from New Jack City. Sir, stand up. Get some material that does not punch down at marginalized communities and vulnerable people. I don't understand that. And then got the nerve to get mad when people are recording you. First of all, we are living in an age of cell phones where everybody has well, I shouldn't say everybody, but most people on this globe have some sort of smartphone. Even homeless people have smartphones. So a good rule of thumb is to always, and I know you shouldn't always be like on guard, but just know that there's a possibility that somebody could, be recording you. We just live in that social media digital age. Now, take into consideration that you're a celebrity, and not only are you a celebrity, but you're performing a comedy set at a billionaire's party. So I don't know if he thought it was going to be like a Diddy party where people had to sign NDAs and nobody's supposed to, take their phone out. Or I mean, even Beyonce parties have NDAs. And listen, I just made a video about Jay-Z, so who knows? The reasons could be a little bit deeper than what we think. But with that being said, Chris, you've been in Hollywood long enough to know that there is always a possibility that somebody is recording you. And that doesn't give you carte blanche, even if you weren't being recorded, to talk about how you're going to send Mexicans to the moon. Because, sir, let me remind you, and I feel like a lot of people, once they reach a certain status or have a certain amount of money, that they forget, who they are in regards to you being a part of a marginalized community. Yes, you are a successful comedian, and we're never going to take that away from you. However, if the laws change, because they're already starting to go after the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment is what gives Black people their citizenship in this country. Because Black people were not always citizens of the country. We know that from chattel slavery to the three-fifth, compromise. Like, I don't understand why you feel like you're so protected. Your money doesn't protect you from racism. And again, we know this because he made a whole show about it, about how his teacher, what's her name, Miss Moreno or whatever, was really racist toward him growing up. But yet you want to talk about Mexicans. Make that make sense. You would think that you would have some sort of empathy towards more vulnerable people than you. That always blows my mind, that people who, especially those who struggled or come from humble beginnings growing up, right? You're from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I made a video recently about how your brother Tony Rock went on a podcast and basically poured his heart out and said how, how grimy you did him in regards to he wasn't told about the movie that you told him he was going to be in until the rap party. Like, that's horrible. That's your blood. That's your own brother. And then now you're at this billionaire's party and you're getting upset because people are recording you. You're talking about putting Mexicans on Mars. It just blows my mind, how people treat just first of all, they're, other human beings. But secondly, Mexican people, they're just looking for a better life like everybody else. When you had the money and the means, you were able to move out of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. And ever since then, I feel like you've just been, spitting on, you know, people who are just trying to, trying their best, trying to make it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I guess money really can't buy you class because I feel like almost everywhere Chris Rock goes, I don't know if it stems from, him having deep rooted insecurities from growing up in Bed-Stuy. And listen, I used to love that show before I found out what a horrible human being he is. But it's like, he grew up in a loving two-parent home. His mom was a homemaker. His dad worked very hard to provide for his family. He had, brothers and sisters. And I mean, listen, that type of stability, most people would kill for. Okay. And the fact that he went on to be successful in his comedic career, it's like, what? Why do you feel the need to punch down at people? Like, he's always talking about whether it's, black women. He made that documentary about, good hair. He's dogging his brother out. He's talking about Mexicans now. He was talking about Jada Pinkett Smith on the Oscars. Like, I don't understand why all of his comedy, at least recently, has been so negative and so disparaging. None of those things are funny. Like, people are out here really struggling, they're really hurting, and you got smacked in front of millions of people, if not billions of people that watch the Oscars around the world, and you're still out here talking greasy. Somebody go get Will Smith. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I don't advocate for violence. I don't understand what the issue is. At this point, I feel like Chris Rock, I mean, he's going to be 60 next year. 60 years on this globe, on this earth, 60 times around the sun, and still talking about vulnerable, marginalized communities. That's a dang old shame. Lord, please help me to never, seriously, and like to learn from other people's mistakes. Because in my opinion, that's 60 years, not necessarily wasted, but 60 years of opportunities to learn from your past mistakes. Like, if somebody were to slap me like Will Smith slapped you in front of not only your peers, but like I said, a lot of people around the world, that is a lesson of introspection. And then a lot of people are saying, Denzel, Tyler Perry, Samuel L. Jackson, they all went to go see if Will Smith was okay. They went to go check on Will Smith, which further lets us know your reputation in Hollywood is one that needs some work. Okay? Stop talking about, vulnerable people, man. I hate a bully. I do. I'm not condoning what Will Smith did. I think that, it's wrong. And listen, he got blackballed 10 years, from the Oscars. I'm sure he's not even going to return after the decade's over. But I don't understand why he stormed out of the party when you were dead wrong for talking about people who are really going through it. They have a target on their back, at least here in the US, right? Latinos are really being targeted by this upcoming administration. And after they get done with them, what do you think is going to happen? Like, they rolled back affirmative action, they've rolled back, a lot of civil rights, Roe versus Wade, and et cetera, et cetera. They're not going to stop there. I'm surprised they're not going after Loving versus, Virginia. Yeah, Loving Virginia, which allows interracial relationships. A lot of people I know, and I don't know a lot of people, but two people I know, I'm saying, that voted for Trump are in interracial marriages. And I'm always looking at them with a side eye, like, you don't think that the government could roll that back or turn on you? You don't think that they could rescind? I mean, Trump is already talking about going after the 14th Amendment. And it would be one thing if he had a Democratic Congress or a Democratic, majority on the Supreme Court. Trump has sycophants in the Senate, the House, and a conservative majority of a Supreme Court that's not going to go against him. He could easily roll back the 14th Amendment with their help and end birthplace citizenship and say, "Oh, I'm going to send all the black people to Africa," or whatever. He's out there. And then what? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I wish Chris Rock health and healing and hopefully happiness, because I'm tired of him always being so negative and disparaging toward other people. But anyway, you guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you think about him storming out of the party because he was recorded talking about Mexican people? It's a shame. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Drop down in the comment section. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care, Aces. Bye.